what does it mean to compete? Competition is deeply ingrained into human nature, to the point that we have actual cave paintings depicting competitive swimming, sprinting, and wrestling. And video games have never been any different.
The victory, and he goes down! G2 will take the win!
Going all the way back to the Intergalactic Space War Olympics in 1971. 1971. The original Donkey Kong didn't even release until 1981, 10 years later. Now, obviously not all players were participating in large-scale organized events, but you know what people were doing? Competing for high scores in arcades. And let me tell you something, getting the new high score, not very easy, and that's exactly why people liked it, because succeeding at things that are difficult feels fucking great.
Oh! Oh my god! Oh! Oh my fucking god! Oh! Oh! No, get the camera!
I want to be very clear about something here. It's perfectly fine if pure hair-raising, adrenaline-pumping competition isn't your thing. But what isn't fine is when non-competitive or casual players dilute competitive games by demanding that developers alter their games to be easier or more accessible to them. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, have you ever heard of been one of the most influential and recognizable franchises in modern gaming for the last 15 years. And every single time a new one releases, without fail, the internet arguments start. When you ask for an easy mode in a Souls game, you're usually revealing one of two things about yourself. You either A, don't understand the intentionality of From's game design, or B, you just don't care. And if you don't care, then you don't even deserve to be part of the conversation. But if you don't understand, I'll explain it for you. The games are difficult because the team at From Software believe that overcoming real hardship is where real joy comes from. Their core design philosophy is built around suffering, pushing the player into failure so that victory feels genuinely earned. And Miyazaki believes in this philosophy so strongly that it's hard-coded into the narrative of these games as well. You're the chosen undead, the tarnished, the ashen one. In almost all of these games, you play as a warrior who's risen from the dead or is incapable of staying dead, who pushes through failure after failure in pursuit of a seemingly impossible victory, the same way you, as the player, are overcoming insurmountable odds to defeat death itself. And a very similar design principle can be found in Eternal came out 6 years ago, and it released with a ton of instantly iconic elements. The Super Gore Nest, the kick-ass soundtrack, the
"You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of Mars."
But if there's one thing everyone who played this game remembers and hates, it's this motherfucker. My god, the entire internet hated this guy when the game first came out. He's aggressive, he has an impervious shield, he's using your super shotgun, and worst of all, he has that stupid fucking clock! But I have some very bad news for everyone.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm saying you're bad.
Yes, the Marauder's a pain in the ass to fight. Yes, he slimed my ass a good few times, and he made me put a few new windows on my wall. And guess what? Just like with Dark Souls, that's explicitly the point. Hugo Martin described the Marauder like this.
The game asks you to think, it asks you to solve this, figure it out, and then, when you solve it, now you're God. You walk out of there like, okay, who wants some of this?
The Marauder is there specifically to kick your ass and make you learn how to play the game his way. to force you to learn to prioritize your targets, manage your ammo, and keep track of your positioning. Because once you finally master defeating him... Actually, funny enough, a completely different id Software game got backlash a while back because of its easy mode. Wolfenstein is one of the great granddaddies of gaming, with Wolfenstein 3D being widely considered the first successful first-person shooter, and its software has never been shy about offering the players a good challenge, even though their game has always featured difficulty options. But when Wolfenstein the New Colossus released in 2017, it set off an absolute shitstorm, spurred on by this article from Kotaku. Their complaint is that the game's easiest difficulty, Can I Play Daddy, combined with this image of Blazko dressed in a bonnet with a pacifier, is infantilizing and condescending to low-skill players. Now, I'm going to say something that may strike some viewers as harsh, but gaming is fundamentally built around overcoming challenges, and being angry that a game is making fun of you for wanting to avoid said challenge is incredibly gay. Because what Kotaku didn't consider is that it was completely right to condescend to people who play on the easiest difficulty. They are very explicitly telling you that this game is intended to be challenging, and that if you suck so bad that you refuse to play the game the way it's intended, then you're equal to a crying baby. Esteemed games journalist Ethan Gach, Esteemed games journalist Ethan Gash simply didn't realize that he is, in fact, a huge Billy for wanting to play Wolfenstein on easy baby mode, and that makes him upset. But Dark Souls, Doom, and Wolfenstein, those are all single-player games. So what happens to a multiplayer game when casual appeal takes priority over competitive identity? Well, there's actually a few very relevant arguments going on at this exact second, starting with... Helldivers 2 exploded in popularity for its high-tension, difficult cinematic action, closely emulating the feeling of Starship Troopers. It even replicates the film's sense of humor, and one of the main enemy types is clearly based off the Arachnids. When it launched, it was widely celebrated for having a strong identity and clearly defined vision, with Arrowhead Games' main slogan being
"A game for everyone is a game for no one."
Honestly, perfectly encapsulating one of the key points I'm trying to make in this video. Standing down any difficulty or learning curve in order to draw in a wider audience actually erodes the central identity of the game itself. However, it seems the wider Helldivers community didn't get the memo, framing Helldivers as a power fantasy and arguing that the game is becoming too difficult, restrictive, and punishing. That Arrowhead was somehow betraying the players by refusing to let them steamroll everything effortlessly. Which is insane, because the grunt fantasy of being under-equipped, overwhelmed, and barely holding the line is objectively, inarguably, what Helldivers was from the start. It's where the tension comes from, it's where the fun comes from, and it's the exact reason the game stood out in the first place.
It didn't go where it should have went.
And speaking of games with a strong, unyielding identity,
This next subject hails to us from the mighty Extraction subgenre, with a pedigree from the creators of Halo and Destiny, and the star of my very last video, it's...
Much like Helldivers, Marathon came out swinging with an extremely hard-defined personality, both in its serious narrative tone, hard sci-fi setting, and extremely hardcore gameplay. But just 5 months earlier, another extraction shooter popped up onto the scene, Arc Raiders. While I do enjoy Arc Raiders, and I had said previously that I like it a lot, lately the game has become kind of more and more casual-coded. The biggest break for me was when they decided to implement aggression-based matchmaking. Participating in PvP will cause you to queue into other matches against other PvP players, and not participating in PvP will queue you into matches with non-PvP players. And this is an awful decision. Not knowing whether the next guy I saw was going to try to kill me or not was part of the fun. Not knowing if I wanted to let the guy I had a line of sight on go was part of the fun. But now it's pretty much exclusively one or the other, with very little, if any, in between. And if you end up in a PvE lobby and you want to spice it up a little bit by holding someone up or betraying someone to steal their shit, well, you better be on the lookout for a very strongly worded wedded post, bub. is fucking lame. But Arc Raiders' extremely casual tone and communities probably a big contributor to its success in the first place, as opposed to way more hardcore and serious extractions like Tarkov or Hunt Showdown. Marathon, meanwhile, has committed to being a hardcore game. Some have described it as being for
sicko, psychotic, socially inept freaks.
And it absolutely is. Thank you, Mr. Bricky. Anyways, it is definitely designed for
absolute degenerate, debaucherous people.
Yeah, thank you. Anyways, I fucking love it. It feels so good to hunt down some fucking loser and skin them alive for glorious Arachne. Long live Charter, and thank you for kindly donating your compiler trace. But Marathon's psychotic hardcore nature turns away most people who give it a short trial. It is extremely hostile to new players who are just starting out. But once you push past that hurdle, once you learn how to play, fight, and extract, then it says it all right there in the subtitle.
Escape will make me God.
And next time you see some talentless hack grifter comparing the player counts of Marathon and Arc Raiders, just remember,
A game for everyone is a game for no one.
and a key victim of this exact mentality is... Here she is, folks, the best-selling multiplayer game of 2026, especially in the wake of Call of Duty completely eating shit in the past few years, and no one really caring about Black Ops 7. And in the wake of both Battlefield V and 2042 flopping hard on release, DICE EA really needed a smash hit. This was basically their golden opportunity to finally capture the FPS market. So, they developed a game that's somewhere between Battlefield and Call of Duty, seeking to scoop up the more casual fan base of an industry giant. And don't get me wrong, I play Call of Duty, but when I say it's casual, I mean it's a video game for people who don't play video games. It's like Madden and 2K. Gamers don't actually blow 60, 70, 80 bucks on this slop to play every year. Normal people do. People who just like pop culture. People who just like popular thing. People who couldn't tell you with a gun to their head what the fuck a Metal Gear Rex is. So when Battlefield goes out of their way to cater to these types and become a household name by homogenizing the iconic class system, simplifying gunplay, they might sell 20 million copies at the start, but the truth is that Call of Duty players don't play Call of Duty because it's a tight, fast-paced first-person shooter. They play it because it's Call of Duty. And any amount of Battlefield identity instantly signals it as not being Call of Duty.
Play the objective, bro. I would say something like, that's a waste of talent. Bro, I'm not going there and Reggie. I'm a COD player, bro. I ain't a medic.
So now, your new Battlefield game is out, and it's 2 Battlefield for Call of Duty players, and it's 2 Call of Duty for Battlefield players. So you end up with player numbers like this. Yeesh. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's really bad. But at least it seems like DICE has since realized their mistakes and is making strides to smooth it over now. You can't say the same for... Because Siege wasn't just some huge franchise that became a bit diluted to me. It was probably one of the most important games of my entire life. I've always been a fan of Tom Clancy. I played the vast majority of Ghost Recon, Hawks, and Splinter Cell all the way up until my high school years, but Rainbow Six was an IP that had kind of always eluded me. But when Siege was revealed at E3 2014, it was impossible for me to ignore. And while it launched in a pretty janky state, I could not stop playing. I spent multiple hours in ranked mode almost every single day for the next few years. I was a regular tenant in Plat 2 and I played with Diamond teammates in a few ESL tournaments. I couldn't get enough. I even met some of my closest friends because of Siege, people that I consider as close as family now. But a few years into Siege's service life, Ubisoft's development team began to implement changes that would push me away from a game that at one point I would have happily told you is one of my all-time favorites. It was to the point where I was feeling genuine emotional distress every time a new post on social media detailing the latest update would also reveal that yet another core feature had been changed or removed in the name of accessibility. These changes may have been extremely small and incremental at the time, but together they all compounded into a much different game than the one I used to know and love so deeply. Newer players were having trouble distinguishing prone players from dead bodies, so dead bodies were removed. New players were having trouble remembering that you need to prioritize center mass shots against Blackbeard instead of his head, so his shield was changed. New players would struggle to counterplay against shields like Muntang, so they nerfed him into the dirt. Bullet holes are no longer see-through because they're too hard to spot. Classic, iconic maps were completely remodeled into unrecognizable pieces of shit because they were unbalanced if you weren't able to properly utilize your cover. And so on and so forth, over and over, again and again, until I can't even stand to look at this game anymore. So I guess it's time to just move on, isn't it? It's not necessarily that the new Rainbow Six is bad. It's not that Battlefield 6 is bad. It's that these games and others that sacrifice their identity to capitulate to a casual audience are no longer themselves. And I assume many of you were originally drawn to these games because of what they were, what they represented, how they allowed us to express our own personalities and interests within them, not just because they were popular. It's certainly important to bring new players into a community. That's what keeps live games and franchises healthy, renewing interest and shuffling new fans into the mix. But these developers shouldn't be forcing out their dedicated audience in order to do that. What a lot of these games need is better onboarding, a better way to teach newcomers how to play. And sure, a lot of these titles have plenty of creators who make tutorials and how-tos for those dedicated enough to seek them out. But casuals aren't going to go to YouTube, Reddit, Discord, etc. just to learn that in Helldivers you can sprint away from enemies while shooting behind you with one-handed weapons, or that tanks in Battlefield have dedicated damage multipliers tied to specific armor plates. So what can developers do better? Stop asking streamers for advice, for one. No one who actually plays Battlefield wanted a battle royale in Battlefield. And for two, trust that your strong personality will draw in new interested players. And if they're ready to dig deep and establish roots in your ecosystem, then you've won them over. But stop changing your game just to appeal to a broader audience, because a broader audience doesn't really exist. The broader audience is an ever-shifting, ever-moving hive mind that will never settle down in one location. Appealing to a casual audience is trying to make a game for everyone. And never forget,
a game for everyone is a game for no one.
Hey everyone, if you watched all the way to the end, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. This video has been super long in the pipeline, and May in general was just kind of a very busy month in my life every year. It was my birthday just a couple weeks ago, and a lot of other life stuff, so thank you. Starting 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be getting back to doing regular, at least bi-weekly, fun style multiplayer game stuff. With another bigger project down the line that I've already started work on. So please comment games below that you'd like to see me play, or friend slop that you'd like to see me play, or whatever. Just like this comment here, I'm pretty sure he's talking about like a deeper dive like the marathon video was. But you know, if you want to see something that's more fun like that, then comment that too. But all that aside, please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Share this with your friends. The more people that watch these videos, the bigger the channel can get, and the more consistently I can get these types of videos out. Thank you guys one last time, and God bless you all. I will see you in the next video.